We are just months away from the 4-year anniversary of January 6th. 4 years. Which means we are now just 50 days away from the next presidential election. And if you are wondering what might happen if Donald Trump loses again, specifically what January 6th truthers might do in response, The Atlantic's Hanna Rosin has a story you should hear. Joining us now, host of Radio Atlantic and co-host of the podcast We Live Here Now, Hanna Rosin. I gotta say, I listened to the whole article this morning. The Atlantic offered a listening option, and I found myself speechless at the end of it. You really took me on a ride. And not to give it away too much, but I'll get the exposition out of the way. You found out relatively recently, that you were living next door to the mother of Ashley Babbitt, the wife of a man named Ruffin, who was the first guy to be arrested and then charged for January 6th, and then one other woman, and they are January 6th sympathizers. They become martyrs in the world of January 6th truthers. When you found yourself and your partner, Lauren, befriending these women, just give me what was it like? What did you learn?
It was a double ride. I mean, on the one hand, we got very close to how history gets remade. Like, what is the January 6th truther movement? How does it work? What does it mean to decide that these prisoners in jail for what they did on January 6th are political prisoners? What does it mean to decide that Ashley Babbitt is a martyr? So we got very close to the politics of it. On the other hand, we got very close to the human beings. I mean, Mickey Withoff, who is the mother of Ashley Babbitt, is many things, but one thing she is a mother who lost her only daughter and is wrecked by grief. So there's no way of reconciling those two things, that we got close to both of them at once.
You, in it, describe the pod, the January 6th pod, that a lot of the convicts from January 6th are placed together in this D.C. jail. I was so surprised that they're placed together, because I thought one of the cardinal rules of prisons is that you don't put sympathizers together because you don't want them to radicalize each other. And you discovered that's exactly what's happening.
Yes, that is one of the more alarming things that we came upon, that there is a segregated wing in the D.C. jail where a lot of the January 6th detainees are held together. And what happens when you hold people with sympathetic views together? Their views become deeper and more radical. And no, we are entering this picture 4 years on, as you mentioned, and I wouldn't say a one of these people who call out into a vigil every single night are repentant, feel sorry for what they did, talk about how January 6th was terrible. It's basically become this enclosed bubble of a belief that January 6th was a glorious revolution, and people who are imprisoned are unfairly imprisoned. And if you recognize some of that language, it's because it's the same language that Donald Trump uses about himself. He has virtually fused his identity with this movement that we're talking about.
Well, you talk about one relatively young person, a 30-year-old who was arrested and then had to go to jail for some time, and was a low-level guy, was put off by the violence of that day, but still found himself in the Capitol with his legs up on a lawmaker's chair, smoking a joint. But after he gets out of prison, he finds that he wants to be violent, that he wants to impress the guys who went in there, with the guns, off to the side, or the cache of guns in their hotel room. He wants to be one of the guys that was more hardcore from January 6th. So when you're looking forward, Hanna, and you're thinking about what might happen if Donald Trump loses again, what did these conversations tell you about what might happen if Donald Trump loses again?
Well, the conversation I had with this particular person was quite alarming. I mean, it's an entire episode of We Live Here Now, which is the podcast takes place inside the Patriot Pod in the D.C. jail. We do talk to this young person, and I ask him very explicitly, what's going to happen on January 6th, 2025? What happens if Donald Trump loses? And he gives me the answer that you don't want to hear, because in his time in the Patriot Pod, he did come to believe not only that the people in there were fierce, the people who came with guns, but that they were heroes of a sort of another era of founding fathers. So there really is a valorization of what happened on January 6th that has only gotten stronger and stronger and stronger over the years.
You know, it is scary, this piece, and I've yet to start the podcast, but I'm going to, because I think it's going to be really fascinating. And one of the reasons why I'm so excited to start it is because despite all the tension and the apprehension about the future, you do hit on something about a way out of this. You hit on redemption, and that is how you were able to how Lauren specifically was able to connect with Ashli Babbitt's mother through all of her anger, through all of her sadness, and come to a place of recognition and understanding. Tell me a little bit about that.
I mean, that is ultimately what we stumbled towards in this year-long journey. I can't call it a kumbaya moment, but when you have a neighbor who has lost a child, who is in grief, and you keep talking and talking, and maybe some of us have had this experience with neighbors or family members when we just keep at it, you just can't help it. Like, we are human to human, and we started out with one view of this person, and we ended up with a completely different view of her politics, of her as a person. I mean, again, it does not change everything in the world, but given how little the two sides talk to each other, particularly with an issue as divisive as January 6th, it's a tiny little miracle what happened. It's just something different to watch two people kind of come closer to each other in this way.
That's why it's great storytelling, because, again, you start off with one view of a person, and by the end of your story, you have another view of her. I really suggest everybody go out and read it. It's in The Atlantic today. Also, the accompanying podcast, We Live Here Now. Hanna Rosin, wish I had longer with you. Wish I had a podcast to talk to you about this.
We'll do one together one day. Thank you.
Hanna Rosin, thank you so much.